Yeah, a lot of people do ask about neighborhoods, and you have to understand your priorities, or I have to help understand your priorities.
For those looking for financial assistance, are there any incentives or assistance programs available?
First thing that happens after your offer is accepted, of course, you celebrate. Yay, your offer is accepted. Well, hey, everybody, it's PDX RE team, Tim and Mariah here, and we just want to talk about some of the most common questions that we get from buyers. So we're going to try to answer those for you today. And if you have any additional questions, always feel free to put them in the remarks below, and we'll try to follow up with you. So let's start off. Mariah, what are some of the most common questions?
The first question that many buyers have is how much can I afford? Could you explain how buyers can determine their budget and understand the mortgage pre-approval process?
Sure, I'll try my best at that. First thing you want to do is evaluate your financial situation. Look at all your income that you have coming in. Look at all the debts. Consider all your credit cards, your car loan payments, that type of things, and then consider your savings account. You add all those up and subtract. Determine a comfortable budget that you may have for a home. So monthly payments, a general rule is that your monthly housing costs, including mortgage, property taxes, and insurance, should not exceed around 28 to 30% of your gross monthly income. Okay, total debt load, your total debt payments, including new mortgage, should not exceed 36 to 43% of your current monthly income. Then get pre-approved. This is when you want to talk to a lender, consult with the lender, and see what it is that they say you are qualified for. They're going to look at all the same things, so you're just getting a general idea from the start. Then you talk to a lender, if you're comfortable with that, and they'll get more specific into it and tell you how much you can afford. So you want to get pre-approved, definitely, because before you can make an offer on a home, you have to have a pre-approval letter. Writing an offer without a pre-approval letter is not going to get your offer accepted. Consider the additional costs too in all this. So you're going to have closing costs. When we talk about closing costs, we're talking about typically they range from 2 to 5% of the sales price that you have of the purchase. And then maintenance and utilities, you want to make sure that you have a little bit of buffer for any kind of maintenance that's going to happen on a home, and utilities. Remember, as a renter, you're probably asking your landlord to take care of all that. Now you're going to be having to take care of that yourself. Look at your long-term financial goals too. Okay, savings and investments. Make sure that you still are able to put into your savings in your IRA, your retirement account, that type of thing too, because that is, along with the value of your home when you can sell it, is going to be what your future value is here. You can always use an online calculator. They have a lot of those out there. Just pick a home, any home that you think you like. Look at a online calculator that has the interest rate, the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So you can divide those into there too. If you're not looking at taxes and insurance, then it's going to be a quite different number. So determine how much you can afford. Start by looking at your income, debts, and then go and savings and go from there. So that's a nice general guideline for you.
Another important question is about neighborhoods. What should buyers consider when asking what neighborhoods are good for me? How can they find areas that match their preferences in terms of amenities, schools, commute times, safety, and lifestyle?
Yeah, a lot of people do ask about neighborhoods, and you have to understand your priorities, or I have to help understand your priorities. So what is the lifestyle that you want to hold? I mean, do you want to be close to amenities? Does it being further out from those amenities more attractive to you, having a little bit more acreage versus being close to a hospital, close to walking to a coffee store or something like that. And your family needs, how close are the schools? What schools are you looking at getting into? Do you want your kids riding the bus, or you're going to be driving them, or they're going to be wanting to walk to school? And then the commute, and how far is it that you're willing to commute to work? That's another thing that you definitely want to look at. We can always set up in the MLS for your home searches a drive range at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it kind of comes up with this little configuration of what it's going to take to get you to work at 8 o'clock in the morning with a half an hour drive time. So budget considerations too, because a lot of times when you're a little bit closer in, the higher the cost of the home is. So if you don't have that big of a budget, you may have to sacrifice living that close to the schools and live a little bit further out. Property types make a big difference as far as neighborhoods too. And affordability, you may want to start off with condo. Those are always great first-time homes, especially if you don't have kids, or a townhome if you do have a kid or two before you get into that house. But starting to build that equity in the right neighborhood is a smart decision. Amenities and services we talked about a little bit earlier. How close do you want to be to some of the things that you most commonly frequent? Is it a walkability, drivability? Is it, in a neighborhood where your other family members and friends are currently? Those are some of the things considered. Community features, sometimes if you live in a HOA community, what kind of features do they have? Some of them have the swimming pool, so now you've got a place for the kids to go swimming or yourself. They have a little park, those types of things. So you want to determine, do you want this big community feel or do you want a little bit more private of a feel? Safety too. How important is the crime rate? So I'm never going to try to judge the crime rate for you in a neighborhood. What you need to do is go on to, there's multiple different sites that you can go on to and just see what kind of crimes are happening in that area. Now, there's not going to be any place that's 100% crime free. Sorry to say it. There's always going to be that little car break-in or the kids down the street, especially in the high school area. No offense, high school kids, maybe be a little bit more rambunctious, taking some of the stuff that you have in your front yard and throwing it around, that type of thing. Future plans. This is the big thing that I always talk to a lot of my clients about is, what are your future plans? Is this a neighborhood where you want to raise kids in, or is this just a neighborhood where you want to start building equity in a home? Maybe take that home, make it a rental at some point later on in time, or do you want to take and live there forever? So you consider these things when you're looking at purchasing a home. Growth. Are you looking in with an area that has growth for future development? A lot of these new developments, they're going to have new amenities coming in really soon. Hillsborough, South Hillsborough is one of those big things right now going on, where we've got thousands of homes being built, but at the same time, they're also building the little strip malls, the little school, the hospital, and that type of thing. Personal preferences too is, what is the cultural fit? What do you want around you? Now, that's going to be one of the most difficult things to find for you as a realtor, because where I do know neighborhoods, or your realtor may know a specific neighborhood, and that's great, but is that really the culture that you want to be in? We can definitely go around knocking on doors, talking to neighbors, but the best thing to do is talk to your friends that live in neighborhoods right now and ask them what the culture is like there. You can always go on to the census too, and you can pull up an address or around an address, and it'll give you kind of a general idea of the type of people that live in the neighborhood. General, again, going by the Census Bureau. And the vibe, again, you're going to feel it or you're not going to feel it. As you drive through a neighborhood, you're going to say, yes, this feels comfortable to me, or no, this does not feel comfortable to me. So those are some of the things that you want to help me identify for you in determining the type of neighborhood that you want to live in.
So market conditions are always a big topic. What are the current market conditions? How can buyers know if it's a buyer's or seller's market? And what should they expect in terms of how quickly homes are selling and price trends?
Well, currently in the Portland metro area, we've got a very dynamic market. There is still very few homes that are on the market right now that are not selling fast and with multiple offers. With that said, you also have quite a few homes that have been possibly overpriced, sitting on the market a little bit longer, or not quite ready to, as what I would call, move in. So in today's market, especially if you're trying to sell, you really have to make the home move in ready. So when people are having to pay this higher interest rate, they're not going to have the extra money to replace all the carpet that you didn't want to replace prior to listing it, or replace the appliances or things like that. So you want to make sure that your home is move-in ready and priced right. Otherwise, it will sit on the market a little bit longer. So while we still have low inventory and we still have buyers even at this interest rate, because people have to move and want to move, they want to build equity. Remember, 6 to 7% interest rate is kind of common in historic terms. We were a little bit spoiled with that 3, 4, and 5 for the longest time, which brought up prices of homes. But with the interest rate high, it's less affordable. So being less affordable for most people, they want things to be finished inside the home before they move in. So you want to make sure that if you're going to sell your house, that it is move-in ready. Now, we're not talking about a total repaint job, but if you have those bright colored walls, that purple room, that pink room, those type of things, you may want to paint them. It's not to say that somebody won't come in and paint afterwards. But again, you want to make it ready. You want to make it as neutral as possible for the majority of the people who are going to be coming through that. So again, we are still in quite a hot market, not quite as much as it's going to be. Let's say we came down to 6% interest rate or 5.5% interest rate. That's just going to create more demand for those homes that are out there, bringing up value, bringing up price in those. So again, very dynamic market here in the Portland metro area.
When it comes to home viewings, buyers often wonder, what should I look for during a home viewing? Can you share some advice on what to inspect when viewing a property, including structural integrity, potential repairs, and overall condition?
Sure. Now, I'm going to be looking at things in a different sense than you're going to be looking at. So I, as an experienced agent, I'm going to be looking at things that could be deferred maintenance or that could be costly to you at some point in time. You're going to be going in and trying to picture yourself inside the home, see if this is a comfortable fit for you. And that should be the main thing that you do. But ultimately, it's the overall condition of the house. So as you go through it, what is the condition of it? How much work do you foresee having to be put into it? Now, this is not the wants per se that you want to be looking at a home for. This is the need. Now, we all want the wants, don't get me wrong, but it's the needs. So if you're coming into a house and you see it needs new carpeting, or you see it needs new appliances or needs a new kitchen or things like that, that's the kind of things that you want to look for, especially since you're purchasing at a higher interest rate. Structural integrity. So common, in most homes that I see, you can walk around the foundation. Now you're going to get a full home inspection. So, you're not the inspector. I'm not the inspector. I'm never asking to be or wanting to be, but the structural integrity. So if you see cracks in a wall, so a lot of times you're going to see a crack that's either directly vertical or horizontal. I call those tape cracks the majority of the time. Ones are a little bit diagonal that you want to be a little bit more concerned with. Cracks in the foundation. Most foundations do have cracks, so you want to kind of be aware of those. They shouldn't be more than 1/4 inch is what I hear of pencil eraser's thickness. But again, that's a call out to concern. Just make sure that it gets addressed, looked at closely, and checked out. Mechanical systems. If you walk into the garage and you see that it has the original heating system and hot water heater, not to say that those things are bad, but if you see an original, if you still love the house and you see those and you're worried about any kind of maintenance, you may ask the seller to pay for a home warranty, which will help you out in case any of those things fail. But also you want to see the age of them. I mean, again, I've seen homes that were built in 1981 that have sold with the original HVAC system, hot water system in them, and they still run fine. They've been maintained throughout all these years. It's kind of like us. We don't have an expiration date stamped on our back, but the systems say they do. They say 10 to 15 years, but I've seen them last 30, 40, 50 years. Depends on how well you maintain yourself, how well you maintain your systems. Safety and security. Again, you're going to be walking through the neighborhood or driving through the neighborhood. You're going to kind of get a feel for, do you feel safe in here or not? Is this feel comfortable? Cul-de-sacs are a little bit more comfortable for people who have kids because they can play around in those types of things. But not only the house you want to look at, but you want to look at the area as you're driving into it. Storage space, consider your storage space. So here's a little trick. You're coming from an 1,100 square foot apartment, you're going at 2,000 square foot home. I can almost promise you're still going to fill it up with all that 1,100 square foot of stuff that you have. You're going to say, where did I put all this when I was living in that apartment? It's going to fill up pretty fast. So what do you want for storage space? Does it have enough? Some of these newer homes have smaller closets. Some of the older homes have smaller closets. So is there enough storage space for you and what you have? Can you get rid of the storage shed that you've been renting for the last 3 years finally and put it in the garage or above the garage? Noise levels. That's another thing to consider. So as you're going into a neighborhood, as you're going into the house, what do you hear? It's always nice to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes or more in a house. Not always do we have the time, but if it's closer to an airport, you want to see if you're going to hear a lot of that noise. If it's closer to a freeway or the max, are you going to hear that noise? Is it going to be a disturbance to you? Some people are used to living in the city, so they don't mind the noise. Some people want more quiet. So those are the things that you want to definitely pay attention to. I try to highlight those when I know we're close to a busy street or a max station or something like that. I say, okay, if you're going to be a day sleeper, is this noise going to bother you? All right. If we're close to a school where you're going to hear kids, that may bother you too if you're going to be a day sleeper. So think about those things and the way you live your life, just to make sure noise levels at any normal time are not going to be a disturbance to you. Future maintenance, I talked about that too. We're talking about the exterior also. So we're going to be kind of looking at the roof a little bit. Again, your inspector is going to do that. also, and painting of the exterior, what the condition of the siding, that type of thing. What is future maintenance that this home will need? Local amenities also. As you're looking at a home, consider the amenities that you want to be close to for neighborhoods as far as that's concerned. And then get a feel for the home. Believe it or not, I mean, most people, you're going to go into a home and you're going to feel it. I mean, I know it sounds weird, but you're going to have a feeling for it. Like, this is home. Now, I have to say, I've had 2 clients cry when they get into the house because it was really felt like home for them for whatever reason. Maybe it reminded them of grandmother's home back in the day, or maybe it's just what they've always dreamt of, or whatever it may be. But get a feel for the home too. See if it's comfortable for you. And definitely, if you're into it, consider some of the feng shui.
Yeah. Okay. Those are pretty good. So, making an offer can be very daunting. How do I make a competitive offer? What strategies can buyers use to craft a compelling offer, including understanding the local market dynamics, negotiating terms, and offering earnest money?
Okay, good questions there. So the biggest thing there I have to mention is understand the market, because again, even though we're in a dynamic market, there's going to be neighborhoods that may not be as popular or that many homes are being sold in. And there's going to be neighborhoods that a lot more homes are going to be sold in, which brings up prices too. Most of the time, that's going to be geared towards a school or geared towards close to being to a workplace or something to that effect. So if you get to the better schools, everybody wants the best schools, but when you're in the best school district, you're going to be paying the best prices. You're going to be paying the best taxes for that too. So remember that, but understand the market in that area. Again, each neighborhood is going to be a little bit different, even across the street from each other. It could be a little bit different of a neighborhood and a different vibe and feel. So understand that. Price, your realtor, your realtor should also be doing like what I call a little mini CMA. So they're going to give you a little market analysis of what they feel that home should be valued at, because you've got a realtor who's talking to a seller and we don't know where the price came up with. Hopefully they're listening to their realtor. Sometimes sellers want to try a certain price, but you as a buyer and your realtor should be saying, this is what I see that's similar in size, similar in condition, similar in the area, is going for at a price per square foot.
Yeah.
Okay. So you definitely want to make sure that you have that price right. And they'll suggest that to you. And again, when there's multiple offers, you may have to go a little bit higher. You may have to offer some other kind of concession just to get your offer accepted there. Financing, if you're financing the purchase. Now, if somebody came up to me and they had multiple offers on a listing, I would look at the ones who are doing the most money down. That's what the seller is going to do. That doesn't make it the best offer. Again, the best offer is going to be the one with the best terms overall. It's not always the cash offer or the one that's putting the least amount of money down. That helps out, but if you have low money down, you may have to go a little bit higher in the purchase price just to kind of make your offer look a little bit better. If you're all cash, you can usually go at list possibly a little bit lower. Again, it all depends on the situation, how many offers that they have in there. Again, cash doesn't always talk. So make your offer better by making sure that you're giving your best foot forward, even with the limited resources that you may have on that. Contingencies in an offer, you want to minimize those contingencies. So you have the inspection contingency. Yes, you want an inspection, but instead of making it a 10-day inspection contingency, make it a 5-day or a 7-day inspection contingency. Because if you find something major going on with it that you need another contractor in there, you can always ask to extend that because of that issue, or just put it back on the seller to directly address that issue that was found within that 5 days. So shorter contingency time frame. Same thing if the realtor who is listing the property has put up the property disclosures, go ahead and have them signed off on right away, submitted with the offer. Any other contingencies, financing contingencies, make sure you have everything into your lender so they can say, yes, this has already been seen by underwriting. Everything looks good. We don't have any issues with it. A lender should also potentially call up the listing agent, talk about your ability and your ability to go through with the purchase on that earnest money. So a lot of times I tell my clients 1% is kind of a norm. Some people go with $3,000, $2,000, $1,500. If it's a $500,000 home, put down at least $5,000. But if you want to make your offer look better, your earnest money is going to be refundable to you if you back out for a contingent reason. And yes, both parties still have to agree to release that earnest money back to you, but it is a contingent reason. Financing, inspection, appraisal, that type of thing, that should return your earnest money. So if you're putting already 10% down, throw $10,000 down in the earnest money, throw $15,000 down in the earnest money. The only way a seller would be able to keep that is if you back out for a non-contingent reason. I mean, that's their safety net for them taking it off the market or accepting your offer. So you definitely want to make sure that that looks attractive, because people say, oh, these people are serious. You could have two of the same exact offers. You're both doing 20% down, both doing financing, close in 3 days, 5-day inspection, both qualified for the purchase price, that type of thing. But if this person here is saying, I'm putting $10,000 down versus this person putting $5,000 down, that $10,000 may have a little bit more talk behind it, because those people are willing to lose $10,000 if they back out for a non-contingent reason. So offering a little bit more earnest money, which is part of your down payment, is not going to hurt you at all. Personal touch, sometimes a letter accompanying. Now, I know that for a while there, they were a little bit illegal, but I do have to say there are some people out there who do look at those letters. Now, number one, you do not want to talk about religion or anything like that in those. You want to talk just a little bit about why you love that home and how you can see yourself in it. And those personal letters really do make a difference to some sellers. I've had experience with sellers who will accept a lower offer because of that letter. That's up to them. It's not me selling them on it. They just like what they've heard. And make sure if you're writing that letter, you're really talking specifics about that home. You're not just talking the same generic letter going out to all the offers that you've made so far. Talk about specifics of that home and why you feel that you like that home and why you feel that your offer should be accepted by them. Promptness, act quickly to submit the offer. Don't wait. Unfortunately, in a hot market, you don't want to sit here and wait and think about it for a couple, 3 to 4 days. We'd like you to in a normal market. We're not always in that market, so make sure that you're putting your offer in as soon as possible. It's in hotter areas, they will put a time frame that they're due by a certain time. Don't be the last one to put one in. Put your best one in first. Consultation, offer to discuss specific strategies tailored to the property they're interested in considering its unique characteristics and the seller's preferences. So have your realtor talk to the selling agent and ask them, what is it that, why are these people selling? What are they looking for in an offer? Maybe they want a fast close. Maybe they want some rent back that they haven't mentioned in there. Maybe they want a slow close. Maybe they want to make sure that inspections are at a minimal. See what the sellers want too, and make sure that that's written into your offer. So those are some of the things that can help get your offer accepted in one of the hotter markets.
I know my mom and dad, when they sold our childhood home, the lady or the family that was buying it, the mom mentioned that she was having twins. And since I'm a twin, my mom really enjoyed that. And they definitely picked their offer over others. So that's very true about that. All right. Closing costs can sometimes be a bit confusing. What are the closing costs that buyers should be aware of? Could you explain the various fees involved, such as appraisal fees, inspection fees, title insurance, and attorney fees?
Yes, I can. So the closing costs are a mix of a bunch of things. Number one, is going to cost you money to get that loan, and your lender should already be telling you how much it's going to cost you to get a loan, and it's usually based on the purchase price. But that's one of your fees is going to be the lender's fees. What are they charging you for? The credit search, the paperwork, the loan itself, loan origination fees, that type of things. You want to ask them about that. Then you have title and escrow fees. So title and escrow fees, title companies, of course, they don't work for free either. So they have certain fees for processing these items. So you want to make sure that you have enough. And again, like I said before, it's anywhere from between 2 and 5%, usually more about 2 to 3% total of all this, but that's going to be some of your closing costs. Your government fees, which is going to be the recording of the new deed, the property taxes that you're going to have to pay. Or in the county of Washington, you're going to be paying half of what the Washington County tax is for the sale of that property. It's minimal, so it's nothing to really worry about. But those are some of your closing costs. Then your prepaid expenses, such as your prepaid taxes, your prepaid insurance, your prepaid mortgages, that type of thing. You're going to have some prepaid. So what happens is the July 1st to June 30th is tax year, but the taxes don't come out till November. Unless you're closing on July 1st, you're going to be if you're closing on July 1st, you're going to be taking care of the full year's taxes due in November. So they're going to be collecting a lot of that up front. But if you're closing more in December or something like that, you're going to be paying back the seller for the taxes that they have already prepaid. And then you're also going to be putting some money into escrow. So as they take out that monthly payment in your PITI, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, your mortgage payment, they're going to be adding that. So come November, they'll have all those fees and collected and when they are due. So your taxes and insurance, you're prepaying those just to make sure at the end of the year that those are all in a separate type of escrow account with your bank, with your lender, to make sure that they are paid. Now, come August 27th, there may be a little bit more, or August 17th, there may be a little bit more of a worry for buyers where you may be having to pay your realtor. Okay. In most cases, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's still going to be negotiable where the seller can pay for it. And any of these, you can ask the seller to assist you in too. Again, if you're not in a competing offer, it's good to sometimes ask for a certain percentage or a certain dollar amount to be paid towards the lender fee. Another thing that you may have is a rate buy down in today's market. Sometimes somebody wants to sell a house bad enough, you may even go up in the purchase price and ask the seller to contribute. So let's just say it's $500,000 home. You offer $515,000 with the seller contributing $15,000 towards your closing costs and prepaids. It still has to appraise for that. I usually don't see any issues with it, but it still has to appraise for whatever that amount is, the $515,000. So the exact amount you never really know until you get into escrow and you get a closing date, you get a purchase price, they take away your down payment. Some of the other closing costs and fees that you will not see come back to you are going to be your home inspections and in some cases your appraisal fees. So those are fees that you'll be spending up front. You won't be getting back, even if you didn't like the house. After this is all done, those are costs that do not come back.
Another common question is about the timeline for closing. What's the typical timeline for completing the purchase process? What should buyers expect in terms of offer acceptance, home inspection, appraisal, loan approval, and closing?
Okay, so that can vary. It all depends really on the lender. The timeline for closing on a home can, like I said, vary quite a bit. It all depends on the financing. How much paperwork do you have into the lender? How fast are they at being able to get something closed? Some can do it in 2 weeks. Some take a month. Doesn't need an appraisal. That's going to take a little bit longer too. What kind of inspection time frame did you put in there? Did you put in a 5-day? Did you put in a 10-day? Remember, at the 10th day, you have to negotiate all repairs by a certain time period on that 10th day in the state of Oregon. So typically from the time an offer is accepted, though, it can take anywhere from 30 to 45 days. Now, again, I want to mention it can be done quicker. There are lenders who can do things a lot quicker, and that may be advantageous to you if you have a lender who can close in 2 or 3 weeks. So long as you have the inspector lined up and all those things lined up, 2 to 3 weeks could happen, and it may make your offer look a little bit more appealing too, but you definitely want to talk to your lender. You don't want to promise something and then not be able to deliver, because that's just going to irritate the seller when it comes to that. So again, 30 to 45 days is the norm. I'd say today's about 30 to 35, but 30 to 45 is where you normally do it.
And if you're paying cash, you have a little bit more flexibility.
If you're paying cash, yes, you have a lot more flexibility. You can close right after the inspection.
A little bit later if the seller wants a little later too. That's sometimes a thing. For those looking for financial assistance, are there any incentives or assistance programs available? What should buyers know about first-time home buyer programs, down payment assistance, or special financing options that could help them save some money?
Okay. So that is a pretty broad question that can't be directly answered because not everybody is going to be able to qualify for these things. So each city, each municipality, each area, each loan, each seller maybe even have some financial incentives there. You've got down payment assistance programs, which are usually brought through your city programs like the Oregon Bond Residential Loan Program. They offer down payment assistance and competitive interest rates for first-time home buyers. You've got the property tax exemptions. So certain areas in Oregon, including Portland, offer property tax exemptions for eligible individuals, such as seniors or disabled veterans. So that's some kind of assistance for you. Energy efficiency rebates. You also have some of the state and federal government rebates that you can get back if you make some energy efficient updates to your home. Home buyer education programs. Local agencies often provide educational workshops and counseling for home buyers, helping them understand the process and financial responsibilities. So check out those, or email or text me and I'll find those for you. There's a few of them out there. Renovation loans. So if you get into a home that's, perfect area, perfect home, but it needs some love, but it's at a cheap price too. The way you can do is get an FHA renovation loan, FHA 203K loan is what it is. And from what I understand, the limits, they may have changed. You can, let's say the house is $450,000. This really could be worth $600,000, but it needs too much work. You can borrow up to $35,000 more, being able to use 9/10 of that. So you save 10% of that. So 3,500 in kind of like a little savings, because vendors always tend to underrate things. So you've got close to $30,000, $31,500 to take and make renovations to your home. They just have to be done within a certain period of time. Now, consider this: your FHA 203K loan is going to be at a little bit higher of an interest rate, but you're able to get that $30,000 to put on the new roof, to have the new carpeting, to do the painting, to remodel the kitchen or the baths, or whatever you can do with $30,000 that's needed. Again, you're going to be paying a little bit higher of an interest rate if you find that perfect home. Can you do any of this work? No, it's got to be licensed contractors, and you have to submit it with a bid. Again, I'm going to go with the $450,000 home. What you're going to do is make an offer of $450,000 based on approval of a loan of $485,000 of a 203K loan. So you want to identify the type of loan that you're going to do right up front and how much money. You may only be just looking to replace the heating system, which is a necessity. So you may offer this, and within 30 to 60 days, you have to have that fixed. In fact, those monies are paid out of escrow to the vendors that have submitted the bids for that. You've got the historic preservation tax credits. In case you're buying an older home, if you do some historic preservations, you get some tax credits. Local grants and assistance. There's areas of Portland that will help you out to certain areas that they want to revitalize, that may offer some kind of assistance for you, or even a tax abatement just to get that area built back up and looking a little bit better again. And then depending on the area too, you can also go for, instead of assistance programs, you've got your USDA rural loan, which is 100% financing, which, means that you can even finance your closing costs. Again, $400,000 home, offer $410,000, cover all your closing costs, whatever the closing costs may be. Ask your lender and the title company, your realtor, they should be able to find this out for you. But if it's in a certain area that's called USDA rural, you can get 100% financing. Now, those borders sometimes, like I said before, are across the street from one another. So there is a site, you can go to the USDA rural and pull up each address, see where it is, or you can look at some generic borders of, okay, I can buy in, let's just say, I haven't checked out lately, but Malala, you potentially could get 100% financing in Malala because it's USDA rural. They're trying to keep those rural properties out there. Not many people want to live there for whatever reasons, commutes to work, but at least they can get the 100% financing loan on that. So when discussing these options, it's beneficial to direct them to specific resources. So you as a realtor want to direct these clients to those specific resources and have them investigate on their own. Because again, some of those programs are limited to people within a certain income range, okay, or a certain age group. And you don't want to be the one to determine if they fit that. You want to let somebody else determine if they fit that.
So lots of options potentially out there for people depending on their circumstances. So, okay. In competitive markets, handling multiple offers can be challenging. How do I handle competing offers? What advice do you have for buyers navigating multiple offers to increase their chances of securing their desired property?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Again, making your highest and best and cleanest offer right from the start. So it's all about the pricing strategy. Just make sure that you are priced right. Again, a realtor is just looking at the last 30 to 60 days of what's closed to tell you what the value is, what you feel the value is, and how badly you want the home. I mean, you may be buying into the equity of the home for the next 2 years, but that's okay. This is what you want, so you can go above price. Strong financing, again, making sure that your lender has everything all ready to go. Having them already gone through underwriting is always a good decision if the lender can do it, but provide them everything right from the start. If you're serious about shopping for a home and wanting to close within the next month or two, they can usually do this. Flexible terms. I think I touched a little bit on this earlier is, let's just say a seller wants to sell this property, but they need 2 to 3 months to get into a new home. Okay. So you may give them a free rent back for the first 29 days. You can go all the way up to 59 days before it becomes a landlord tenant type thing. And some lenders will not like it anyways above that. But you can always charge them for rent too. So you can give them 30 days free rent and then charge them for 30 days. And that's normally based off your PITI divided by 30 per day. So if your house payment is going to be $2,100, you divide that by 30 and charge them that amount per day. That way it's not costing you anything to not live into the house. Personal touches, like I said earlier, that personal letter sometimes can get you someplace. If you're having twins, most people have a little bit of empathy, sympathy for you, and then say, oh my gosh, she's going to have twins. They need that single level. So communications, again, I have found that realtors who communicate with me on a regular basis, especially when they're making the offer, they have the time, they take the time to call me up and ask me questions about what my seller's preferences are, what they're looking for, because you can't always write all that into the MLS description. But those people who are communicative and talk, so ask your realtor to talk to the other realtor, asking these questions. What do they need? What do they want? What are they looking for? And just being nice all around. We're dealing with each other almost on a daily basis. In this world of communications where everything has gotten to text, gotten to emails, gotten a little bit personal too in this competitive market, we want to make sure that we can communicate. As your realtor, I want to make sure I can communicate with the other side. Your desires, your intentions, talk about a little bit about the family, what we thought of the home, what I thought of the home. I want to give the compliments on the home also. But being communicative with the other side is really going to get you going somewhere. I mean, I, again, talk to, when I present these offers to my sellers, I talk about the ones who have communicated with. I don't point out the ones who haven't, but if a realtor has communicated with me and asked me these questions and asked this and stuff in advance, they're building rapport, and that helps out because they feel, oh, okay, if those people are that professional to call you and ask you those questions, Tim, then I think those are the people that we'd want to work with also.
Probably have a serious buyer because they want to know that information. So yeah, well, promising. So, okay. And then finally, last question. You ready?
Number 10. Well, that's 4. Number 10.
What happens after the offer is accepted? What are the next steps buyers should be aware of, including scheduling inspections, finalizing financing, and preparing for the closing process?
Don't you just move in the next day? I thought that's what it was, you know? So first thing that happens after your offer is accepted, of course, you celebrate. Yay, your offer is accepted. The first thing that's going to happen is you're going to have to put that earnest money down. So that's usually due within anywhere from 1 to 3 days. It's in a contract as a blank field. Default is 3 days. Some people write in 5, some people write in 1, whatever. It used to be in the old days, we'd collect a check, but now we've had to give those checks back when they don't get accepted. So we put a 3-day default in there. So earnest money is going to be deposited. As soon as the earnest money is deposited and the offer is accepted, well, really, as the offer is accepted, we're opening up escrow. So the agent is sending the entire offer, purchase, and sale agreement to the escrow company and say, hey, we have this going on. We'd like to open up escrow. As soon as escrow is opened up, earnest money can be deposited into that account. The next thing that's going to go on is the home inspection. So you're going to want to schedule a home inspection as soon as possible. My recommendations are always a general home inspection, a sewer scope on any home, even if it's a newer home, and radon. And that's going to be, radon's going to be up to the choice of the buyer themselves. If you want to know a little bit more radon, you can do some research and you can talk to your realtor about it. But I almost always insist at least a sewer scope and a general inspection done in there. After that's all completed, you've negotiated repairs, or you're accepting it as is, or you're backing out due to the inspection. They don't want to do repairs. So you say, okay, fine, I quit. Give me my earnest money back. You go past that, it's going to be the appraisal. So upon in the contract, or working contract, there's a timeline that the lender has to order the appraisal by. So the appraisal is being ordered, and that's going to be done by an appraiser who is not talking directly to the lender. They're doing a little bit more in-depth research. As far as, I told you, as making an offer, we're doing a CMA, comparative market analysis, a little mini one, just saying this is what it looks like the house is worth. The appraisers coming in and doing a lot more than that. They're doing adjustments. They're very thorough on what they're doing. And depending on the type of loan, they could even be more thorough. So you're 100% financing. The more financing that's going to be done on it, so if you're doing an FHA loan with 3% down, they're going to dive into it deeper. When they're only risking 80%, they may not be as accurate, I wouldn't say accurate, as involved in investigating the property, but they're going to make sure that the lender is protected. That's what the appraiser is for. Not necessarily for you. It's to protect the lender and what they are involved in, making sure that your offer price is evaluated according to what the market is. As soon as you open up title too, you're going to have a title search. So you're going to get a preliminary title report from your title company. That preliminary title report is going to have links in it, we hope. Since everything's electronic nowadays, you're going to click on one of those links. Each recorded document is going to have a number. You can click on that recording number, and it's going to pull up the entire item that's in there. So you can see, somebody else's loan that's going to be gotten rid of by the time, title company is making sure that it is free and clear of all liens, so you can sell it the following day after you close. But you're also going to have the covenants, codes, and restrictions in case there's any of them. There's a couple other names for that. They're going to have bylaws, rules, and regulations. If it's on condo or in some kind of association, you want to read through those. It's going to have any other kind of easements that may be recorded on the property. Now, when me as your realtor, I'm going to be looking at certain things in the title report, but I'm not going to be looking for the specifics. Let's just say you wanted to raise chicken, and in the CC&Rs or in the bylaws, it says you cannot have more than 3 chickens, no roosters. You've always wanted a rooster. I'm not going to look for that and say this is not the property for you unless I know in advance that's what you wanted. Hopefully, I'm going to be looking at, as your realtor, he or she is going to be looking at things that are going to affect the resellability of the house. Like there's an easement for a common sewer line, or there's an easement. You're always going to have the easements for the utility companies to be able to supply service. You can back out to that. But let's just say there's an easement in the backyard for the neighbors to, do something or whatever it may be. We'll see those and say, is this going to affect you in the livability deed, or does it affect the price of the home? We're not going to be looking for the rule that says you can't paint your house Pepto-Bismol pink, and you've always wanted a Pepto-Bismol pink home, or that you wanted to have dog breeding in your home. A lot of homes will not allow communities will not allow dog breeding. In fact, sometimes they limit dogs, the amount of dogs, pets that you have, even in a non-condo type area. They don't want somebody with 20 dogs that are going to be barking all day long. So you're going to be looking for things that are going to affect your lifestyle, your livability in the home. The realtor is going to be looking for things that can affect the resellability of the home. So those contingencies as outlined in the offer, you're going to make sure that you meet all the loan appraisal or qualification contingency. You also want to talk to your insurance agent, make sure that you can get affordable insurance on the property. Remember, affordable insurance, you may think, home insurance is home insurance. But if there's anything that's been claimed against the home in previous owners multiple times, it could increase the home insurance that you would need on this home also. So you want to make sure you get affordable insurance. Talk to your insurance agent about what affordability for us.
And probably what type too, right? Because I know some places have flood plains.
And they'll tell you if there's going to be, no, that's good. That's a good point. They're going to tell you if there's going to be flood insurance that's needed or fire insurance. California is going through a lot of places where it's going to cost them more for fire insurance. So if you're out in the country where if you had a few fires, maybe higher cost for fire insurance. Downtown may have a little bit higher costs just because of crime rates or something like that. A review of the closing disclosure. So closing disclosure is what's given to you by the lender 3 days prior to closing, and it's just going to give you all the last financial documents saying, financial figures saying, this is what I've been telling you all this time. You're going to look at it and say, that's true, sign off on it and send it back, because it does take 3 days for that to age before you can close on the property. Then final walkthrough. A lot of people don't write it in, but a lot of people want to do a final walkthrough on the property. The seller was still there. They've moved everything out. We want to walk back through the property just to make sure it's in the same or very similar condition as to what it was when we walked through it. A lot of times the move out doesn't happen until that day, so we go in at 5 p.m. But if we see anything major, the seller is supposed to, according to the contract, keep it in the same condition as it was when you looked at it. Now, yes, you may have a little bit more dirt on the floor, or everybody's idea of clean is different. So they just say it has to be broom clean. They can't leave any of their trash and items in there unless it's in the trash bin and it's not trash day. So you have to expect that, but they can't leave all their excess items in there. If they do, number one, it's yours. But number two, if you want it removed, you talk to the realtor and say, hey, Mr. Realtor, your seller's left all this trash. You need to get rid of it because, again, that's not in the contract. So a final walkthrough. Then, of course, you have closing day. So you've got signing, which is when you go in to sign all your documents at the title company. It's a little bit different from closing day. That closing process is what it is. You're going to sign a couple of days before, possibly even the morning of. And then once it records at the county, that's when it's officially yours. Now, per contract, though, it's not officially yours till 5 p.m. But by law or by tax purposes or whatever you may want to call it, closing day is going to be the date and time that it records that it's officially yours. So insurance is going to be covered even though you don't have access till 5 or even 9 p.m. on one day. Your insurance starts to cover it as of 2 p.m., whatever that timestamp is on when it recorded. Then post-closing, after closing, the deed will be recorded with the county, officially transferring ownership to you. And congratulations, now you're a homeowner. With that said, too, there's going to be companies out there who are trying to sell you a copy of your title. You don't need to buy a copy of your title. Title company will always give you one for free. So those are pretty much the steps after you get your offer accepted, what you can expect. A lot more in between, but those are the major steps.
I hope this was really helpful for you guys. Even though I've been doing this for a little bit with Tim, I learned a little bit myself. So thank you for clearing some of that up.
I'd love to hear any additional questions that you may have. Again, these are pretty much the top 10 questions that people have been asking us pretty much in every single transaction. So there's always, there's dozens and dozens and dozens more. And one thing that we like to do, of course, as a non-licensed assistant, she can't answer specific questions for you, but as a licensed agent, I can try to, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you up front and I will try to find the answer. And I will tell you the source of that answer just so you can investigate and ask for yourself. Again, I'm going to be the resource, not the source for a lot of these answers, telling you this is where you need to find it. Okay.
So we'll leave Tim's contact information for you guys so that if you do have questions, you can reach out to him directly. If you end up reaching out to me, I will shuffle you over to him so that he can answer those for you. But we hope that this was all really helpful, and happy home buying.
Happy home buying. Thank you very much. Remember, if you like what you hear, like and subscribe below. And again, ask us your questions. We'd love to answer them. We really love helping. We're not just in it for the money. We're in it to help people get into their homes and make their dreams come true and build their future. So have a great day.